Dave here. In this video, I'm going to go over a few quick steps just in case your side-by-side, ATV, really any gas engine, if it won't start. In this case, this is my Coleman UT400. Basically, for a gasoline engine to run, you need compression, you need spark, you need fuel. Compression is pretty self-explanatory. Either you have it or you don't. Spark, not so much. You need spark at the right time. If it's jump timing, if the cam sensor is off or what have you, you could get spark and it's at the wrong time. Usually that would result in a backfire or like a backfire through the intake, something weird like that. So keep that in mind. Third thing, fuel. Yes, you do need fuel, but if something went wrong with the injector or the carburetor and it is flooding the engine out, it's not going to start. One tell sign of that would be when you pull the spark plug out in the next test, if it's just soaked with fuel, then there's a chance you're just getting too much gas and it's flooding the machine out and it cannot run. So let's get started on some tests. All right, the first thing you want to do is remove the seat so we can check the fuses. Just pull up on the front and pull the seat out of the way. Relatively easy, probably not very safe. So here on the driver's side, here's your fuse box. There are 4 Phillips screws in the corners. Take the cover off. I'll put a picture. I'm not going to take it apart right now. The 3 fuses across the top are spares. You can check them all, and I'm going to show you how to check them next. To check the fuses, you can pull each one out. This fuse is a little bigger than the one that's in there, but it's the same idea. But you will see like a burned area in this area. But keep in mind, pulling these fuses in and then putting them back in especially is very difficult to do. I recommend you buy a multimeter. I have a couple of them. So in order to check them with a multimeter, you have to check the continuity between these 2 little metal tabs. If your meter has these probes connected to it, it's very difficult to test it. If your meter has these little alligator clips, it's impossible to test it. I found it much easier to just put some sewing pins in the clips. If you have these probes, I would recommend cutting the head off of here, bending it in a 90-degree angle, and possibly taping it to the probe. It's very difficult to get in there with these long probes, and that it was hard to test it. This is the way to go. Okay, the first and easiest thing to do on a fuel-injected vehicle, this is the Coleman UT400. It is fuel-injected. It does have an electric fuel pump. Turn the key and listen. For about 2 or 3 seconds, you should hear the fuel pump. In this instance, let's say you hear the fuel pump. Now we'll go on to the next step. Keep in mind, when I'm making the video, I'm trying to explain it to somebody as if they have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you think I'm over-explaining something, just keep in mind somebody might not know what I am trying to explain. If I still didn't clarify what you need to do these tests, just contact me in the comments. I have called people on the phone. I enjoy trying to make things run. More so other people's stuff. I like my stuff to run, but that's another story. Okay, in this step, what we're going to do is take the boot off the spark plug. Reach in there, give it a couple of twists, and just pull it off. Twist it and pull it. Okay. The boot is now out. Now what you want to do is stick a screwdriver in that boot and hold it close to something metal. It's very hard to do all this while I'm trying to hold my phone and everything else, but just hold it to something normal. Metal. What you're looking for is a spark coming from the shaft on the screwdriver to the head. Now, once you have the screwdriver in place, you can reach over with your other hand with a screwdriver and jump the solenoid. But remember to turn the key on, otherwise you will not get a spark. Okay, now what we have to do is remove the spark plug. I can't remove it, hold the camera and everything else, so let me get it out and I'll show you what to do. Now the spark plug is out, what you want to do is just hold it with a pair of insulated pliers against the block. Do the same test as before. Jump the solenoid, turn the ignition key on. When you're doing that last test, you are trying to look for a spark at the very tip here. If that succeeded, you can move on. If that did not succeed, most likely you need to replace the spark plug. Now for the next step, pour some gas into a container. This is water. Use a straw. Put your finger over it and drop that into the cylinder hole. Now, once you do that, if it acts like it wants to run, but it runs out of gas, you have a fuel system problem. It could be the fuel pump, it could be the fuel filter, it could be the injectors. All I'm trying to do is direct you in the right area. Okay, so up until this point, you have checked the fuses are good. You can hear the fuel pump. You're getting spark at the spark plug. You have put gas into the cylinder and tried to start it and still nothing. Time to do a compression test. Need a compression tester. That is a 12 millimeter adapter I had to buy. I bought this set off of Amazon, so 12 millimeter. You screw that into the hole when you take the spark plug out. Okay, I got the compression tester all hooked up to the spark plug hole. Gonna go over here, put the pedal to the metal, and just crank it over. See what you got. All right, I'm right at 150 pounds. Technically, you're supposed to check the compression with the engine warm, but obviously if it doesn't run, it's not going to be warm. So at least if you have this same Coleman UT400, you should expect to see 150. This one's been taken care of pretty well. I don't think there's any wear on the rings. If your compression's way lower than that, really the next test to do would be a bleed down test. I'll make a video on that shortly. The one thing you could try if your compression is low, on the low side, put some drops of oil in the cylinder and do the test again. And if it goes up by a considerable amount, that's usually an indicator that the rings are bad. The first thing I would personally do if the compression's low is check the valves. That's another video as well. This is the end of the video. Hopefully by this point it's running and you're not even seeing this. Keep in mind, if you were driving it and it quit and you can't restart it, that's probably not the rings. It's probably something like a fuse, maybe a jump timing. I would recommend just starting back at the beginning of the video and verify everything was done correctly. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I really enjoy seeing the views and getting comments from people. And I'll help you out any way I can. Just let me know. Whatever questions you may have, I'll help you out the best I can. So thanks for watching and stay tuned. There's more to come.